Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and Duskmourn House of Horror has officially launched on Arena, so today we're going to be playing our very first sealed event of the brand new format. So without further ado, let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. Alright, we've opened up kind of a disappointing number of rares. Now that sealed is played with play boosters, you can get like up to 3 rares per pack. So getting only 6 rares out of 6 packs is actually kind of unlikely nowadays. So that's kind of a big bummer, but the quality of the rares is definitely there in terms of some of the cards that I've seen in the early access event. Now the one that I've played with and against the most is also the most powerful one here, Unstoppable Slasher. It's in the name. This card is unstoppable. Well, technically if your opponent has exile removal, they can get rid of it, but otherwise, a 3 mana 2/3 death touch that halves their life total when it hits them is going to have to be blocked, and even if they block it, because of that death touch, it's going to rip a creature away, and then it's going to come right back to the board with 2 stun counters on it, ready to start slashing again. The only way to actually kill this is to kill it twice. You have to spend 2 cards on it and 2 for 1 yourself at best, where you trade a creature off into it and then a removal spell off into it while it's stunned. Otherwise, you have to be lucky and have that exile kind of removal. So this card's been super gross every time I've played with and against it, and I highly recommend drafting this card highly, and if you open it in sealed, doing everything you can to put this in your deck. So that is probably our strongest card here, but I don't know the set super well yet, so I don't fully know what these enduring things do. I do know that the unidentified hover ship, that was a little bit of a mouthful there, but the unidentified hover ship is a great removal spell on a stick. It is like your Oblivion Ring style effects. They're going to exile one of your opponent's best threats as long as it remains on the board. But this has a nice little vehicle attached, so you get to crew it and get some damage in as well. Plus, if they kill this, unlike a lot of these effects, instead of getting what you exiled back, they just manifest dread. That's one of the new mechanics where you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them face down and the other into your graveyard. So it's like manifest or cloak was before, where you're putting something on the board face down, and if it's a creature you can flip it up later for its mana cost, but you have a little bit more say over what goes on your board. You're twice as likely to actually hit a creature with Manifest Dread than you would with Manifest, so it does give them something back when it dies. It just doesn't give them the creature itself that you exiled initially, so probably gives them back something a little weaker since you'd want to wait for this and hit one of their better creatures. So looks like a great card as well. These Enduring cards are very fun and pretty solid usually. This Enduring Courage is a 4 mana 3/3, but any creature you play from then on gets +2/+0 and haste when it enters the battlefield. So you just get big aggressive swings, especially like in a token deck. You're making 1/1s and they're 3/1 hastes the turn they hit the board. Stuff like that's pretty nasty. So this seems pretty strong, and the Enduring mechanic in the format for these Enduring rares is that even if this dies, you're still going to have its ability on the board. It's going to come back to the board and it's just going to be an enchantment. It's not going to be able to attack or block anymore, but it's still going to let your creatures get that +2/+0 haste. So that seems pretty good. And so does the Enduring Curiosity. Whenever any of your creatures deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And that stacks as well. Whenever one of these effects says, whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to somebody, then that means if you hit them with 3 creatures or 1 creature, you draw 1 card. But this one says whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player. So if you hit them with like 3 creatures in 1 turn, you're drawing 3 cards. This seems like a very strong reason to try to play blue, especially because it's got flash as well. So you can have your 4 mana up on turn 4, attack with a couple creatures. They're like, yeah, whatever, it's like 3 damage, I'll take it. And then you just flash this in after they don't block. And you're like, all right, I'll draw 2 cards. Take that. That seems fantastic. And then there's the last 2 rares. Peer Past the Veil's a card I'm not that excited about, but it's decent card draw in red-green. You can get a pretty high amount of card types among cards in your graveyard in the format. You can get up to like 6 or 7 if you're really lucky. Generally, the red-green decks and the green-black decks are working towards Delirium, which is 4 or more card types in grave. So artifacts, enchantments, creatures, lands, instant sorceries, those are the main card types that can end up in your grave. I think that's all in this format. I might be forgetting something very obvious. Oh yeah, like Planeswalker technically. But generally you can get to like 4 or 5 in the mid to late game. So this is like discard your hand, draw 4 or 5. So basically it's a big draw spell, but you don't cast it until you've already cast your whole hand because you have to discard your hand to do it. So it seems decent. And then there's Tyvar the Pummeler, which I've never seen in my life. A 3 mana 3/3, tap another untapped creature you control, give him indestructible till end of turn, and tap him. And for 5 mana, creatures you control get +X/+X till end of turn, where X is greatest power among creatures you control. That's at least +3/+3 till end of turn to the entire board. Alright, yeah, Tyvar seems very strong and also very annoying, because once again, without exile removal, that's super hard to kill. You just need one other untapped creature. Tyvar technically doesn't have to be untapped to get that indestructibility. If it's already tapped, then he'll just stay tapped. But you do need another untapped creature. Alright, well, actually every single rare we open is pretty good. Obviously we could fit 3 rares into the same deck if we go red-green, but my problem with that is then we're not playing Unstoppable Slasher. So, I mean, we'll see what we have in individual colors, because we've got good rares actually in every single color there. We have white, blue, black, red, and green represented in our rares. So we'll start off with the colorless cards and multicolored cards. I like to just get a feel for where we have the most multicolor stuff, maybe pushing us in a certain direction, and also how much mana fixing is mainly what I'm looking for out of the colorless stuff. And we do have the Haunted Screen. This is decent mana fixing for any kind of sealed deck. It's a fine mana rock for slower formats, and usually sealed is a little slower than draft. So 3 mana to be able to get whatever color you need is decent, and in the late game, when you no longer need that mana, you just turn this into a big old 7/7. Start beating down with it. Seems fine if you need fixing. There's some found footages here. The best thing this card does is it really fuels your Delirium. It's 1 mana to play, 2 to sack it, Surveil 2, draw a card. Surveil 2, of course, you're looking at the top 2, you can put them in the graveyard, so you're putting an artifact in grave no matter what, and you're potentially putting even more card types. So this, I think, is pretty decent in a Delirium deck that's trying to get 4 more card types, and kind of useless everywhere else. Just not very exciting. Friendly Teddies, whatever. Saw is whatever. It's fine in the late game, start sacrificing your lands to draw cards, but pretty inefficient early game. 2 mana to play, 2 to equip, and then you're probably not sacking anything for a while. Attack in the boxes, whatever, and Malevolent Chandeliers, whatever. So really just the Haunted Screen to know that we have 1 colorless piece of mana fixing. Now we can check out our multicolored spells. Looks like a lot of green multicolored spells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 different green multicolored spells. We have 2 in green-black with Brood Spinner. Excellent card for a Delirium deck, making a whole army of insects in the late game. Drag to the Roots, also good removal for Delirium. We got good removal for green-red aggro with Beastie Beatdown. And a nice Manifest Dread build around in Simic. For blue-red, if we want to sack rooms, this card's decent, but usually I like to keep my rooms on board, but I guess you can like build around this thing. And then Fear of Infinity, just an annoying lifelinker that's always going to get through and always going to come back from grave even if they deal with it. Cool stuff out of the multicolored cards. I don't think any of these are pushing us really hard in one direction, but the most here is really the Delirium stuff. Green-black Delirium looking very nice with Brood Spinner and Drag to the Roots, and also green-red Delirium with Beastie Beatdown and Peer Past the Veil. So green-based stuff if our green is pretty good. But let's get into our individual colors and make sure we're not overlooking anything. Alright, so starting off in white, we have a ton of cards here actually. This is a pretty high quantity in the Play Booster era where you only have like 14 cards per pack or something. So it's probably our most prevalent color, or most well-represented color. It's also got a great aggressive curve here, lots of 1 and 2 mana creatures, and it peters off towards higher mana costs, exactly how you would want for an aggressive deck. So we've just got a really nice base for a white-based aggro deck. We've got the Unidentified Hovership, of course, for the rare that is on color, and that seems great for aggro. Just get a blocker out of the way, and also leave a flying vehicle behind, so once your scavengers are just getting blocked, you just start crewing the hovership with them anyway. Speaking of, 3 copies of Optimistic Scavenger is insane if we have a secondary color with a lot of enchantments in it, or in particular a lot of rooms in it. Rooms will trigger this card twice. If you've never seen the new room card type, that's a card like the Surgical Suite and Hospital Room here, where you get to cast either half of this, just like a split instant or sorcery, like any other split spell you have. But then it hits the board, it sits there as an enchantment, and you also basically get to cast the other half of it from the board, but instead of calling that casting the other half, it is unlocking the room. So you basically get both halves of this card, and you get to choose whenever you want to play each half. And everything in the set that cares about playing enchantments, like the Optimistic Scavenger, also cares about unlocking rooms. So they kind of count as sort of like double spelling for your stuff that cares about playing a bunch of enchantments. So I think rooms in general are a really powerful, really nice mechanic, and most of the rooms I would play in the set, especially when we have triple Optimistic Scavenger really wanting us to play rooms and unlock those doors. So very happy with the white for just an aggressive, enchantment-based sort of deck. The only issue I have with it is there aren't a ton of enchantments in this color in our sealed pool. We just have a Fear of Surveillance, a Surgical Suite, and Hospital Room, a Lionheart Glimmer, and then like the Glimmer Seeker can spit out these 1/1 Glimmer tokens if it manages to stick around. But if we've got a secondary color with just a little bit of removal and a lot of enchantments, white-based enchantment sort of aggro could be an excellent spot to be in the sealed pool. And look what we have here in our blue. That is immediately 2 Meat Lockers and Drowned Diners, an Enduring Curiosity, Fear of Failed Tests, Fear of Falling, and Unable to Scream. That is like 6 enchantments, 2 of which are rooms, so it's kind of like 8 enchantments for our Eerie triggers. So blue-white Eerie aggro could absolutely be a place to be. Not only do we get a ton of enchantments in this color pair, but our blue actually does work pretty well with our white outside of just the enchantment theming, but really the fact that our blue rare works so great when you have a good curve of 1 and 2 mana creatures is really nice. I think our white pairs incredibly well with Enduring Curiosity here, and also our blue pairs decently with it, with this Piranha Fly here to have an evasive threat to try to curve into it. And then the Creeping Peeper also works decently for a deck with a bunch of enchantments, which we definitely will have. So blue-white looks pretty synergistic here. Definitely want that on my radar, but I'm not going to lock in just yet. We're going to check out everything in the sealed pool. I mean, obviously our best rare is in black, which is the upcoming color here. And not a ton of cards here, not a high quantity, but of course the quality is there with Unstoppable Slasher being the strongest card in the sealed pool. The problem is, from there's actually not much. There are some good 2-mana creatures for curving out aggressively, a couple Balemurk Leeches, and an Osseous Stick Twister, but there are 0 removal spells out of black, which is not usually the case. Usually black's the most removal-heavy color, so that's kind of weird. And there's some pretty filler creatures, like a 3-mana 3/2. It is an enchantment, which is an important card type for us, and like this Killer's Mask is like a 3-mana 2/2 menace. Maybe you do get to manifest Dread into like a Spectral Snatcher, and then you can turn it into a really big creature later, but generally haven't been super impressed by like the Killer's Mask, and then it's like a really filler combat trick, a very strict build around with the Defiled Crypt and Cadaver Lab, where obviously our white doesn't synergize well with it, our blue doesn't synergize well with it. We'd have to have some really weird green-black deck. This strikes me as the kind of card that can be really strong in draft, when you can draft a bunch of cards that specifically work with it. It's going to be a lot harder to get going in sealed, and our black as a whole looks a little awkward in that sense, where there's some cards that would be really good in a particularly synergistic deck around them, but cards that are good in anything and cards that are specifically good with our white are just not really here, and there's like no removal. So love the Unstoppable Slasher, don't really like much else about our black. Now for our red, we actually have pretty excellent removal in this color. 2 copies of Scorching Dragonfire, just premium, cheap, efficient removal. and it exiles as well, which is kind of a big deal for this format, as you've seen. That makes sure that the creature in their grave is not adding to their delirium counts, nor is it getting reanimated or picked up with anything like that. So the Dragonfire is actually kind of sweet. One of the few commons that can kill the Unstoppable Slasher for like only 2 mana. It might be the only one that can kill Unstoppable Slasher for 2 mana. And by kill it, I mean kill it dead. Make sure it doesn't actually come back. But we've also just got a decent aggressive curve of creatures. Kind of a low quantity of cards again, but that double Dragonfire does make me a little interested in the color. Still think that blue-white is the most synergistic thing we have going for us in the sealed pool, but red certainly looks okay. And last but not least, we do have our green here. We've got our Tyvar in there, being pretty exciting. This greenhouse gazebo thing might be a little too dirtily. Decent mana fixing with the Zealots. Got some Cryptid Inspectors if I wanted to build around Manifest Dread, but awkwardly, I don't think I have... Okay, I was going to say I don't think I have any Manifest Dread cards out of green. I have 2 cards in green that Manifest Dread, so we would need a secondary color that has a ton of Manifest Dread to make these Cryptid Inspectors any good, because they're getting buffed every time that you're flipping your face down permanents and putting them on the board. But we just do not have that much Manifest Dread in this sealed pool, so these don't really do much of anything. Okay, I do have Defiant Survivor. Technically, that could manifest if we can keep it alive. We're not super good at doing that with a single combat trick in the color, though. So, yeah, I mean, green, again, looks reasonable, looks fine, but I think I'm just going to go for what looks to be the most synergistic, streamlined, powerful 2-color pair in the sealed pool, which is awkward because we don't get any of our multicolored cards by doing this, but I really do think that the blue-white deck in this sealed pool has some great synergies here, and it could go a long way. So we're going to go for this color pair. So we've got a great aggressive curve here, and I'd like to mostly keep it that way. I think we're definitely trying to just end the game with combat damage and get pretty aggressive, so I'm not going to try to go for the mill win condition of the Scrabbling Skull Crab, although I do think this is probably very viable in this format if you build a slightly more controlling deck, because a lot of decks are naturally just going to be milling themselves. Not every deck, but any deck that has a bunch of like Manifest Dread and Delirium stuff, even some Reanimator kind of stuff, are going to want to be playing some self-mill cards, so Skull Crab can kind of punish those archetypes, while being a good build around if you have a couple copies of it for a more controlling deck. Don't think it fits in well here, though. Definitely keeping the 3 Scavengers and most of the 2 drops to keep an aggressive curve. I think I'll just keep all of them for now. Same with 3 drops, just want to keep that mana curve as efficient and aggressive as possible. So I'll probably just cut a couple of the very high mana value creatures for a deck that's trying to close out the game a little faster than that. So drop the Megalodon, the Fear of Failed Tests, the Skull Crab, and the Possessed Goat. This now leaves us with 4 cuts, and these are probably all going to be non-creature spells. If you're playing a generally aggressive deck in draft or sealed, that's around the 15 to 17 creature mark. It's what you want, and we are at 15 creatures here, so I really don't want to cut any more of those creatures, although we do have a hover ship, which is sort of a creature. It's a little more like an equipment than a creature, so don't really want to count that. So let's definitely just cut 4 non-creature cards now. So first off here, I do think Get Out is a pretty good counterspell in this set. However, I don't think our deck's going to be very good at holding up the mana for it. We only have 1 creature with Flash that we can cast during our opponent's turn. Otherwise, when you're playing an aggressive, kind of tempo-oriented deck like this, where you really want to be getting to the ground early, you can't really justify holding up a counterspell like Get Out until you're at the point where you have literally nothing else to cast. Because if you ever spend a turn holding up the Get Out, and then they don't cast something you can counter with it, like they just cast an instant or sorcery or something, or they don't cast anything, then you've missed a lot of tempo, you've lost some valuable time, missing out on just expanding that board state and staying more aggressive. So I think Get Out is not really for this kind of deck. Enter the Enigma as well. Fine if you want to fill your graveyard with sorceries for Delirium, or if you have a deck that cares about casting instants and sorceries, but it's pretty filler otherwise. We still have 2 more cards to cut. I don't hate Jump Scare. Don't know if I need 2 copies in here, and there's a lot of cards I really like in our non-creature slot. Particularly, all of the rooms are going to play well in this deck, but also the hover ship's an incredible card, and unable to scream, even though our opponent will be able to block with whatever we put this on, we're still going to stop all of its abilities, and the benefit, the plus side of this being an enchantment, is big enough to play this even in this aggressive deck. Generally, though, this is way better in more controlling, slower decks, where you don't care too much that they get an extra block out of the unable to scream. And then the other thing to cut is Seized from Slumber. 5 mana removal, a little high for a more aggressive deck. So probably cutting Enter the Enigma, Get Out, and then some combination of these. We could also cut a land here. Lots of 1 and 2 mana cards. I've got some good 4 and 5 mana stuff, but I don't think I need to curve into it that early. I guess Drowned Diner. Yeah, 2 copies of this. I'm probably going to stick with 17 lands here because we have 2 copies of a 5 mana draw 3 discard one. So like if I ever draw too many lands, I do get to just start playing some big draw spells, potentially discarding the extra lands. I think I'm still going 17 lands with 4 pretty good 5 mana things to do and 4 pretty good 4 mana things to do. The Hospital Room and our 3 creatures. Yeah, I'm not going to cut a land, so I'm going to cut these 2. And the Seized from Slumber, again, 5 mana removal for an aggro deck like this that's trying to blow up one of their blockers. For more controlling decks, this card's awesome, because you get to use it for only 2 mana. I guess if our opponent's also just a decently fast deck, and we're racing each other, and they're attacking, and then we're attacking, then they're attacking, we could still maybe use it for 2. I think I'm still cutting 1 copy at least, but I might run 2 of those over 2 jump scares. This is really the last change to the deck. I'm not 100% confident on this yet. Obviously, it's day 1 of the format for me recording this, or day 7 if you count the early access drafts as experience. But we're still very early. We're still definitely week 1. I guess I'll just start just going instinctually here and keeping that curve low. Don't have a lot of removal in this deck this way, but we'll try out the double jump scare, see how well those play for us. The other thing that's nice about them is they can just randomly give flying to just end the game. So you can use them to like keep your creatures on board, win combat early, but you also could randomly end the game when your opponent's nice and stabilized, just being like, okay, I'm just going to boop you in the face for 6 with my Enduring Curiosity, or 5 with my Glimmer Seeker, or something like that. So we'll see how it plays out, but it seems like it'll be pretty decent. So yeah, those are all the cuts. This is the deck. I like it a lot. Seems like a solid spot to be for our first sealed event of the format. Without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are for game 1 with a potentially explosive hand. 2 copies of Optimistic Scavenger can go wild if we draw into some enchantments here, and we already have the Unable to Scream at worst. It's 1 removal spell to play later. It's going to trigger both the Scavengers. And I could get real aggro here and just use it immediately. It seems real risky to just blow the removal this early, but I like the amount of damage we're going to do doing it, the amount of tempo we're going to get. I'm just going to swing for 3 on turn 2, and all they can choose to do is chump block or not chump block. Now this leads into the Fear of Surveillance next turn, which makes the other Scavenger a 3/3. We're sending in for 6. Just going to go full speed ahead here, and I actually like that Teddy. That's going to give us both a card. Ooh, I don't like the Ethereal Armor. Ooh, Ethereal Armor's gross in this format. I guess we need to make a 5/5 Scavenger, which is real awkward because that means 1 removal spell is going to take down our big target here, our big threat. At least we'll put them down to 12 at worst. But I think I need to be able to get through that Teddy here. So we're going to stack it up on the Scavenger. Alright, Plane Cycle the Shepherding Spirits. That's it for now. Seized from Slumber. I think that's a good enough draw here to maybe hold off on combat in case our opponent's trying to use a trick. Because otherwise, I think they would have just attacked with a Teddy. I guess they're at 12, and it is holding off the 2-2. I don't know, I'm a little too concerned they may have a trick here, especially because Arena's holding for them. And when it's only going to take one turn to have this up in response to their trick, I think I can just wait that one turn. Commune with evil. All right, they're digging, looking through the top 4, picking the best one to their hand, everything else into the grave. That's really going to fill Delirium and Reanimator stuff. Oh boy. Black-white is the Reanimator color pair in this format, so this 7 mana 5/5, disregard the mana cost, is something you want to reanimate to get the extra life drain and the card draw. Pretty excellent card for Reanimator. All right. So if I attack with everybody, they eat one of my creatures, so I can sacrifice a 2/2 in order to get 5 more damage in. That feels worth it. Sack a 2/2 to Lava Axe my opponent. Lava Axe just being a 5 mana, deal 5 to your opponent. Kind of a classic spell in Magic. All right, we're sacking a 2/2 to deal 5, sure. I didn't want to just cash in the Seized from Slumber immediately, because I don't know the format well enough to know the tricks yet, and I was afraid there might be like a 1 mana hexproof thing or indestructible thing in white. So I can still just cash it in during their end step here. Final Vengeance. Goodbye to the Scavenger. That is sad, but I still have 5 power on board, which is lethal without them playing something else here. End step, we remain lethal on board for now. We are each going to draw a card, so this could draw them into instant speed removal. Potentially. And it doesn't. That is going to be the final 5 damage, and we're going to start things off 1-0 heading into game 2. Alright, well, I'm optimistic about this hand. We are on the draw again, but double Scavenger, we're probably going to be on the beatdown, despite being on the draw. Hopefully if they have any removal here, it doesn't exile, because that way we get to cast the Surgical Suite, and that would be incredible. Grand Entryway, that is an excellent room. That would be awesome in this deck. It's really only super good for an Eerie deck. Otherwise, it's just a decent room. But in our deck with 3 Scavengers, this card would be insane, because the Grand Entryway is 2 enchantments hitting the board, the Entryway and the Glimmer token. So you get to double trigger all your Eerie cards like Optimistic Scavenger, and then trigger them again when you unlock the Elegant Rotunda. So this is 3 Eerie triggers on 1 spell. There's the Patched Plaything for a 2/1 double strike. Okay. So we can just stun that and be mana efficient and save the Unable to Scream for something scarier, because Unable to Scream is actually very bad against the Patched Plaything. Not in that it's gonna be a giant double striker anymore, but it will still have its +1/+1 counters, so it'll be a 2/4, and then it would just block our stuff. All right, that's Destroy removal. We love to see that. Surgical Suite is now active. Whenever I want to do that, I may just go for mana efficiency here and just play the Friendly Ghost, though. Really big blocker. Yeah, because I'm not going to cast Unable to Scream right now. I would be playing Surgical Suite, and that's it for the turn. Yeah, we'll play the Friendly Ghost. Get a 4 power swing in. Casper has arrived. I have not seen that movie since I was like 6 years old. I cannot remember anything about it, other than that it's called Casper and the Friendly Ghost. Hello, 0-2. So now we want a Surgical Suite first so that we get 2 Eerie triggers. I guess I wanted to order that differently. I actually don't know if it matters, because you're just going to put the counters on the flyer. Yeah, let's just juice Casper up. Casper got swole today. They're down to 7. If I unlock one room, I have lethal in the sky. That's 7 damage in the sky. Is this still a demon? It is. It is an artifact demon toy. So if they unlock the Unholy Annex, they will be draining us for life. The Unholy Annex, I don't want to highlight it just in case they forgot about it, but they probably didn't. Okay, here. It's going to let them draw cards in their end step, but they have to lose life if they don't have a demon. But if they do have a demon, they gain life and make us lose the life. So that's actually kind of an issue that our removal did leave it on the board as an O2, even if I can attack past it in the sky now. We're getting drained by this Unholy Annex. Okay, here comes Patch Plaything. You got me. I don't think I can lose a Scavenger right now. So they're at 9. Oh, they die. Let's go, jump scare. So hospital room for an extra 3 damage here to make this 8. And then the jump scare makes it 10. And that's game 2-0, heading into game 3. All right, here we are for game 3. Perfectly reasonable hand. We are on the draw, 3rd time in a row. Hello. Fear of Surveillance is the start from our opponent, and they have 3 colors of mana immediately as well. Got a really excellent curve here if we hit our lands. Creeping Peeper, letting us cast the Curiosity and the Fear of Falling for cheaper is a little exciting. Is that worth not trading it off here? Yeah, with a 4 and a 5 mana enchantment in hand, we should probably keep this around if we can. Oh no. That is really good. That's like an infinitely better version of the Creeping Peeper. It's basically giving them the mana for their enchantments and their unlock costs without even having to tap it, and it's a 2/3. Yeah, that would be so much sweeter if we had that over the Peeper in the sealed pool. Okay. Just drop a Cult Healer. Do I turn this into a 0/2 just to slow them down a tiny bit? I think I need to just keep playing to the board here. I guess I could do both, because the Peeper can tap for the enchantments. Yeah, I don't hate that when I have Seized from Slumber in hand as well, so it's not like I'm using all my removal. Also, I have a Meat Locker for stunning something where its ability doesn't matter. Okay, send in the Cult Healer, probably just try to draw a card here. The issue is they have a ton of mana ups. They could combat trick this, or they could just like counter the Curiosity maybe. They have neither. Excellent turn for us. Draw the card, dig for our land, and don't find it. We do find Casper though. He says what's up. Oblivious Bookworm, fantastic card. Oh, and the fungus blows up our Curiosity. So the Bookworm draws a card and discards a card every end step, no matter what, just on a 2-mana 2/3 body. That's just great. If they do manifest Dread at all, they will just draw a card. They don't even have to discard at that point. Alright, well, Insidious Fungus can kill... I guess it kills the 4/3, but we maintain the ability, which is good. I don't... Yeah, that Fungus is really awkward, because now I really don't want to play Fear of Falling, but that would so clearly be the play otherwise. Is it just Friendly Ghost, then? Make that a 5/7. Make this a 6/7. But then they can just Fungus it. Yeah, but if they Fungus it, I still have its ability. And then Fungus is gone, so they can't get rid of Fear of Falling, which is actually a more important body. think we send with Cold Healer right now, because the only way that they kill Cold Healer is by letting me kill the Bookworm or the Fungus. 2 cards that would be pretty nice to kill. Okay, we're killing a Bookworm, it looks like. Sure. I will take that kill. Of course, I am like reducing the size of my board and the amount of damage I'm going to be able to deal throughout this game, but I think we have a hand that is really well positioned for a long game because of the 2 copies of the Meat Locker and the Drowned Diner. I just board wiped us? Oh, but only killed 1 card. That's fine. Not a scary board wipe. But yeah, 2 copies of Drowned Diner. We're going to draw 6 cards if the game goes long. Ooh, they 2-for-1 themselves too. They used a board wipe and their Naturalize on the Curiosity, so even when it dies, the Enduring Curiosity is giving us quite a bit of value. We love to see that. What is the other half of this? Gives all their stuff hexproof? Okay, so they don't kill anything with it again, so we'll just play the Fear of Falling. Now we have our biggest threat on the board. So with this card, whenever it attacks, we get to turn one of their creatures, well, we get to reduce one of their creatures' power by 2 and make it lose flying all the way until our next turn. So we make their counterattacks worse, and we can shut off a flying blocker. Ooh, and they're just out of cards. They had to just give their board hexproof right now. That makes our Meat Lockers pretty poopy, but we still have the Drowned Diners, and they don't have any creatures on board, so not the worst case scenario here. I guess our Seized from Slumber also sucks now. But they're at 9. I think we're going to have the time here to just kill them before they can get hexproofy creatures on board. Or enough hexproofy creatures on board to not die. Keys to the House is really fancy here. So generally, you can play this in any deck that cares about like Delirium, and then just use this to grab whatever basic land you need for mana fixing for any deck. But the second effect's really fun. So they could re-lock the restricted office, and then they can unlock it again and board wipe again. But there's the concession from our opponent, so they were not going to have time to do it there, and it wouldn't kill the friendly ghost anyway. So yeah, they could have keysed the office and locked it, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I guess they had exactly enough mana, they just didn't see the combo there. They could have blown up our Fear of Falling. But again, they had no cards left in their hand at this point, so even if they did that, they take 2, go to 7, and then we play 6 power of creatures this turn, and they have to immediately like top deck another board wipe to be in the game. So fair concession from our opponent, and we are 3-0, undefeated in our games that we are on the draw. So let's keep being on the draw, I guess. Actually beneficial. All right, well, here we are on the draw for game 4. I guess I did request it. Double Scavenger and a Cult Healer, so we really want to find some enchantments, but if we find any... Ooh, we have the full trio. So much optimism today. No pessimism allowed. Insidious Fungus, well, maybe a little bit of pessimism allowed, because that obviously is not good for us to see when we're an enchantment deck. They get to blow up our Lionheart Glimmer. But even then, we trade a card for a card. Okay, that is way worse to see. Twitching Doll. So that's going to mana fix them and mana ramp them throughout the early game, and then it will turn into a bunch of 2/2 spiders, like 4 or 5. That card can just single-handedly win the game, and currently it's on rate 2 because we have none of our removal in hand here. Oh my god, their deck is balmy. They have the Doll and the Onslaught. Card is busted at 5 or more mana. 5 mana, 2 4/4s. Already a game-ending play, but if they get to like 7 mana, they get, what, 3 5/5s? Yep. Yeah, no, Valvagoth's Onslaught is stupid. Well, they've played 2 incredible rares in a row, and we may have found our first loss, but we'll see. We'll play it out here. Can't really do anything into these 4/4 bodies already, especially just ramped out by the Doll. But yeah, I guess I get to make a 4/4 attacker here if I play the Glimmer. No, I should probably have all 3 Scavengers first. I guess, yeah, I could have made a 5/5 attacker. But still, they can just double block with 2 4/4s and I only kill one of them and lose the Glimmer Seeker. Doesn't feel good. Face down is a Plains. Just double checking how bad my memory is. Okay, they don't have a combat trick on board, so I think we just trade a 2/2 into this Amalgam. Maybe it's better to trade the Unsettling Twins off there, just so they still have to fear that the face down could be bigger. Okay, now they have a sack outlet for the millions of spiders they're going to make off the Twitching Doll later. Sketchy. Alright, so Lionheart Glimmer does have Ward 2, so they have 3 mana up. They can't kill it until their next turn. So we will be giving the whole board +1/+1 here. So 4/4 is big enough for Cult Healer to send in. If I make Glimmer Seeker a 6/6, it will kill at least 2 of their creatures. And they kind of have to kill it, because if they don't, it's going to spit out a 1/1 enchantment, which is going to trigger all this nonsense again. So I want to make Glimmer Seeker at least a 6/6. So it's a 6/6 now, because it's a 5/5 and it's going to get +1/+1 from the Glimmer. But then anything that's a 4/4 or better is able to attack here, so I probably make the twins a 4/4 also. Because making Glimmer Seeker a 7/7, they still just double block with a 4/4 and a 4/2. Or a 4/4 and a 3/2. Yeah, let's make the twins also a 4/4. So 6/6 and 2 4/4s attack in. And that's about all we can do here. At least you can say we tried. We did some math this turn, and I'm pretty sure this is the best outcome for our Lionheart Glimmer. Yep, double block, kill the Glimmer Seeker, take the rest. Fair enough. Down to 12. Now Twitching Doll's at least 3 2/2s if they sack it next turn. The Fungus is going to blow up the Glimmer. Yep. So they're going to wait so they can get at least 4 2/2s from the Twitching Doll. They still have their 2 4/4s. It's going to be a bit of a brick wall for us. I mean, all I have to do is draw one more enchantment, and I could actually get past them. If we draw into, like, Meat Locker, we're actually very much still in the game. The Twitching Doll is the big issue here. Yeah, well, Fear of Surveillance, and we're in it. So 3 counters. I mean, we obviously put 1 on each, at least. I actually think I put the next counter on the Unsettling Twins, because I think whether or not I put another counter on the Cult Healer, they're gonna want to kill it, because that's the lifelinker. But if I put the other counter on it, they can just freely double block it and kill the 5/5. So they kill the bigger and better creature. But this way, if they want to kill the 5/5, they have to leave me with the lifelinker. So I think I do it like this. So this way, we might actually keep the 5/5. Yeah. I think that feels good to me. Because if I made Cult Healer a 5/5, they would just double block, and I'd only kill 1 4/4. And then I would be left with a 4/4 with no abilities, but now I have a 5/5 with no abilities, which is a little better. Alright. Okay, Acrobatic Cheerleader is not going anywhere. This is only going to kill a 4/4. They just block with a 4/4 and a 2/2. So, yeah. Honestly, any room in the deck, again, could be enough to actually make this even through all the spiders. So, we have some live draws. Ooh, okay, never mind. Their manifested card gives all their spiders death touch. So now we're back to needing removal. And we need it really fast, because, yeah, they have enough creatures to send a couple in here without much worry. All right. That's a big, 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 big one. 3 death touches. I actually think we might cast the Drowned Diner, looking for ways to kill the Swarm Weaver so we could actually not lose a creature here. Because I don't think we're, like, attacking at all this turn, are we? I guess I could Meatlocker the Swarm Weaver, attack with a 3/3 Fear of Surveillance and a 3/3 Cheerleader, but again, I'm just going to trade into spiders. Yeah, no, I'm going to Drown Diner. Oh god, I do have to choose where I'm putting this stuff, though. I think we're spreading out because of the Death Touch. Start juicing up a Scavenger? Maybe so. Fear of Falling's a good one. That is a very good one. 3, 4, 5, 6. Land 7. I think I need to play this turn, because then if I top deck my land for a turn, I can cast this and use the Meat Locker. Otherwise, if I top deck the land, I obviously can't play 2 lands in 1 turn. And we have issues there. Because it's actually a tremendously good turn to use the Meat Locker and the Fear of Falling. Alright, there's a Saw. And they just pass, and that Split-Skin Doll draws us another card. Okay, if they just hold up a million Death Touchers, don't think I'm actually Meat Lockering then. We'll use the Doll. Especially because I don't have the mana to play the Fear of Falling and the Meat Locker, but I can play the Doll and the Fear of Falling. Okay. They have... Oh, all the spiders have reach too? Ew. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, they're spiders. So, Fear of Falling's not even going to break through this. So we still spread out the counters rather than making one really big creature. Maybe eventually try to get to the point where just 3 creatures get in for 3 damage. I mean, they have more creatures than us, and they will for a long time, but, you know. I'm spreading out. I'm going wide. Alright, now I can hold on to this Plains, because it doesn't matter. If I draw a 5-drop, I can play the Plains, play the 5-drop in the Meat Locker. Yep, passed. We don't have a 6-drop in this deck, I'm pretty sure. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2 creatures getting through. Alright, Moldering Gym will turn into another creature. The Weight Room. This card reminds me of, God, what is it called? I forget. It's some old co-op survival horror game where you're in a high school and there's a bunch of weird viney planty things and zombies and stuff. God, I forget what it's called, and that bums me out. All right. 5, 6 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 creatures get in. If they have nothing, if their last card in hand doesn't affect the board, I actually do lethal off of a stun. Let's try to lethal off of a stun here. Oh, thank you for the "Are you sure?" That would have been so bad. Yeah, everything's 3 power, so any 3 creatures getting in is lethal, and 3 creatures will get in here. I don't think it really matters where I friendly ghost. Man, the murder makes it exactly not lethal. I mean, at least they murdered Fear of Surveillance instead of Unsettling Twins, or Fear of Falling. I guess it did matter where we friendly ghosted. 5 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hit for 6, put them to 3 life. And I kill every spider. That's every reach creature they have. And then I still have a friendly ghost. And then friendly ghost hits them for at least 2 next turn. I mean, I killed a burrower too, right? I'm killing 5 creatures. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. 2 of these will be around and we'll just kill them next turn. It doesn't matter where I do this because they all have death touch. Oh, wait, no, I forgot about the weight room. Not quite lethal next turn because of weight room. That means they do still have at least 1 blocker. But yeah, no, 3 attackers. They have no blockers. We kill every single one. They have to top deck a 1 mana blocker. And they didn't. There's the GG from opponent. Really didn't think I was going to wheel that one back from the spider spawner thing. But we got there. And the... God, what is the other thing called? Valgoth's Onslaught. Opponent's got a real good deck here. But looks like ours is just a little bit better there. The triple scavenger was nasty. So the fact that they really didn't draw removal until incredibly late was so pivotal in that win. If we just had 2 scavengers, the amount of counters we would have had in the endgame would have been so much less. Just off of like 1 removal spell on an optimistic scavenger. Yeah, wow. Incredible showing from this deck. We are now 4-0 heading into game 5. All right, here we are for game 5. Perfectly reasonable hand. We can start with Fear of Surveillance if we want to set up our draws, or if we start with the Peeper, we can ramp into the Drowned Diner a little faster. I think I'm going to start with Fear of Surveillance. I'm not really in a hurry to speedrun the draw 3. We'll just play our cards that affect the board. Surveillance into the Peeper, holding up Jump Scare. And then I would still be playing the Drowned Diner turn 4 if I want to. Okay, mulligan from our opponent. We are on the draw again. 5th game now. Black-white, there's the Glimmer Light from our opponent. That card's been very impressive. Doesn't look like much, but it has overperformed a lot. It's 2 mana to get a 1/1 and a 1 mana +1/+1 equipment. So you turn that 1/1 into a 2/2, and then you just leave that equipment behind for the rest of the game. The fact that the 1/1's an enchantment is also pretty relevant. Alright, juice up the rabbit, send it in, take 2. Oh, it's a glimmer, it's not a rabbit glimmer. Then Grand Entryway, another card I love a lot. That would be awesome in this deck. Alright, well, we can attack into that. Surveil, super freely, drop a Creeping Peeper, hold up a Jump Scare. Solid turn. I'll take a Cult Healer. I like a 3 mana 3/3 lifelink. It's a pretty good rate. Actually a good enough rate that we might play that and hold up Jump Scare next turn instead of playing a Drowned Diner, even though I could off the Peeper. Generally, very similar to counterspells, these kind of aggressive decks. Kind of the last thing I do is draw cards. Just want to play out to the board first with all my creatures and stuff. So the Elegant Rotunda half of this is going to put a counter on both their creatures. Actually kind of scary right now. This might be worth just kind of clearing the board here. Yeah, I've got 5 mana, and I'm just going to play Cult Healer next turn instead of the Drowned Diner. So Peeper for Glimmer doesn't seem horrifically bad. I guess it doesn't exactly seem good, but Jump Scare for the 3/3 Glimmer seems decent. I guess technically it is just Jump Scare for a 2/2, but then we get our counterattacks in. We get to keep all of our creatures on board, so we actually counterattack for 4, and then I can just Meat Locker the other Glimmer if I need to. Later. Another Jump Scare? Alright, well, I'll trade another Jump Scare into another Glimmer, I guess. Cult Healer. Then I can Meat Locker and Seized from Slumber, or Meat Locker and Jump Scare. A lot of options for next turn depending on how good the creature they play is. It's pretty good, and we need them to not have a demon on board so they start losing some life here. So I'm actually going to Meat Locker that, and then hope that they level up the Unholy Annex, and then we can Seized from Slumber it as well. And they'll start taking damage that they weren't expecting to, and that can ruin their math here, and get the life loss to actually kill them. Especially because, like, we can easily kill them in 2 swings now. Because we're hitting for 7, they're taking another 2. They're going to be at 5 life, and we have a jump scare for surprise flying next turn. So, I mean, off of Cult Healer alone, we can attack for 5 in the sky next turn. So I need to put a stop when they move to the end step here, I think. I guess I don't need to put a stop there. It's just if they spend 3 on Annex, then I spend 2. Yeah. This is moved to combat. Okay, so I can allow the combat. Okay, now they're moving to end. I need to kill this now, so they just lose the life. Cool. I went a little overboard on the stops, but it was important to do that before the thing. And then they go to 5, and they die to 5 in the sky. Because we killed the demon. 5-0! We're literally unstoppable. It's all about optimism. All right, here we are for game number 6, the 6th game on the draw. We have lost a lot of coin flips today, but we've won a lot of games, so that's nice. We've got Optimistic Scavenger into the hover ship here, and Casper. It's a little high on mana, but some of the strongest cards in our deck, the Optimistic Scavenger and the hover ship, both being very good cards. And now we do have the Drowned Diner that we can use when we're flooding out, and that should be very helpful. Draw 3, discard one of our extra lands. Zimone, well, we know what our hover ship's doing. The problem is that Zimone gave them a 3/3 anyway, so it's not even really a 1-for-1, but if Zimone stays, she's also going to give them a 5/5, and then a 7/7, and then, well, probably not an 11/11. I don't think the game will last that long, but a 5/5 and a 7/7 on turn 5 and turn 7. So I'm just going to get rid of Zimone. And then we can use the Scavenger to start sending the ship in the sky. Although next turn we might use Casper so that I can hit with Optimistic Scavenger for 3 off of the Friendly Ghost trigger. Although, I guess because Casper blocks a 3/3 without dying, it might be best to crew the hover ship with Scavenger and then just have this up and then buff the hover ship. Yeah, especially with a 3/2 that they need to survive out there. Let's do that. Or is this ability scary enough to just not attack? Honestly, I could see an argument for just not attacking here. So we stop them from manifesting Dread if they have removal for Casper. Just hate that I'm missing out on the extra damage, though, this way. I'm gonna do it. Missing out on 4 points of damage here to just make sure Survivor's not doing its thing. I guess they do still manifest once if I trade Hover Ship into Survivor, but they don't get to keep using Survivor turn after turn. Fear of Immobility. That's not good. Tap and stun. Alright, well, you're going to manifest 1 time instead of 2+. Snap trade. And we're playing the Drowned Diner kind of long game this time. I wish I had the mana for Ghost plus Jump Scare last turn, and now I wish I had the mana for Glimmer plus Jump Scare. Even just holding the 1 mana up has been difficult here. Alright, well. Still get the Glimmer down. 5 toughness already enough. Let's get a 5 toughness friendly ghost, so when that untaps, it can block Fear of Immobility without dying. But we gotta be on the defensive here. This is our first opponent that has used the on-the-play advantage to get real aggro. Really just the Duskmourn leading off to make us use removal and leave them with a 3-3 even after using a removal spell. That was the grossest turn. Oh man. What a good manifest hit. That's brutal. That just turns a land into a 3-3 every turn. And then next time it survives, they can turn it into a 6-6 and... yeah. I mean, our only other option there was to let the 3-2 in which case they still would have manifested this. So, we were really doomed on this one. I can kill the 3-3 if I lose Scavenger. But I can't kill anything else here. Looks like our first loss here. It does not look super winnable. I did say that about the green-black deck. And we top-decked the removal for the survivors. That's something. Yeah. Right after I said it's unwinnable. We're actually stable. Not excited about our position, but we're stable here. Oh! It even asked if I was sure. Well, I took my stability away. I wanted to keep it interesting. That's just a monkey brain thing. That obviously it never happens in paper, but... oh, that's rough. Obviously the Fear of Immobility should be stunned here, but they still didn't get attacks in this turn, so it's not the complete end of the world. It will make the game more interesting. If I draw a single island, I could Drown Diner and Unable to Scream here. I don't think I'm going to take any more unnecessary risks after accidentally just doing what I did last turn. Let's just play it very safe and very simple right now. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to lock in. Commentary is going to be a little bland for a second here, because after big punt mode here, I'm going to lock in. Till next game. Anthrapede, they can blow up my... man, that's actually really good here. Blow up my draw 3 discard one. That's brutal. They don't even have to discard a card to do it. Wow, that card's actually really good with how good rooms are. My lord. Like, I guess you'll hit matchups where it doesn't do anything, but when it does blow up a room, filthy. Only creatures, right? Yes. So nothing right now. I could play the hospital room. That is something. Not anything great, but I get that out of the way. Get +1/+1 counter. Still at 8 life. Really don't think I can attack here. It's not even funny how, like, winning we would be if I didn't stun my own Glimmer. We would have actually been attacking this whole time with Casper. They might even be dead by now. Probably not, but they would have taken, like, 4 every time Casper attacked, so... like, 12 damage I missed out on by stunning my own Lionheart Glimmer. Because just having that up as a blocker would mean the friendly ghost doesn't have to sit here, as it's been doing. Okay... that doesn't change much. Just a 3-3, really. They've already got the mana. Four damage. I can save it with jump scare. I lose a jump scare here, but I kind of need all these creatures. Okay. Not a great draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't get any attacks at this point. Yeah, we have to wait for another meat locker or something huge. But at least we're stable until they top deck something. Yeah, I think we 100% lost because I clicked on my own Glimmer with the stun ability, thinking it was the +1/+1 counter ability. But it is what it is. Sometimes you misclick on Arena. Yeah, and now they've just had the time to draw another bomb. Glimmer Seeker's not a bad one. I guess at least it's just a 1/1 and a 4/4. It's not the bombiest bomb of all time, but it is still really good. If they get 4 tokens on board, then it's going to be insane. All their creature tokens have flying, so the 3/3 and the 4/4 and the other 2 tokens they would have at that point. Are they top deck removal here? They're looking at our board an awful lot. Yeah, this game was beyond winnable, but I punted it straight into the garbage. And it wasn't even a punt like where I like misplayed in terms of what I thought we should be doing in the game. It was literally just clicking the wrong buttons to do what I wanted to do. That's such a disappointing way to lose out on the 7-0 run. Potential 7-0 run, I should say. God, yeah, I'm probably going to have to take a break between games because that's real disappointing. Gotta get my head back in the game after that one. Sometimes you click the wrong button, and that's all it takes. Yep, I'm done with this one. Technically it takes like a couple turns to die, but we're in a very losing position. 5-1, heading into game 7, 100% self-impose, just by clicky clicks. One loss and Arena takes pity. We finally get to be on the play, and the hand is very good, so I'm excited to beat down after the misclick punt last game. I am in an aggro mood for sure. Ready to just jam here. All right, it's going to be a little while before I doll if I healer here, because I want to play the twins first. Yeah, I have to play the doll right now if I want to guaranteed draw a card off of it, because I'll probably just trade cheerleaders. I'm just going to go for the Cult Healer. I'm going to be mana efficient here. The issue with this play is that if I don't draw the land next turn, it's kind of a bummer. If I draw the land, this is the better line. If I don't draw the land, then it would be better to play the doll, because the doll helps us draw into the land. Yeah, punished for it. Now I have to draw a card, discard a card if I play the doll. Let's just meat locker then, gain some life. Buy some time to hit the next land. There's their turn 4 Unsettling Twins. It should have been me, not them. Okay, well now we can doll. Definitely not going to seized by slumber. Or seized from slumber. Sick. Gremlin Tamer. That card is broken in half, and we need to kill that immediately. It's arguably even better than our Optimistic Scavenger, but it's certainly just as bad. They get a 1/1 every time. No, this is supposed to be land 5 so I can kill the Tamer before they play any enchantments. But yeah, they get a 1/1 every time they play an enchantment or unlock a room, which is pretty dang devastating. Guess we're just on the twins, right? Because they're not going to attack with the Gremlin Tamer, so holding up a 2-mana Siege from Slumber isn't going to do anything. I'm just going to play... I'm just going to save it for the Tamer and play it at 5 mana later. Yeah, it's Unsettling Twins then. I can only flip creatures up, right? Yeah, I can't turn vehicles face up. That's rough. And I don't have Graveyard Recursion that affects artifacts. I mean, I guess I could still do it, so it's sitting there being scary, since the other option is it's in the grave anyway. Now I mill 10 a turn. More importantly, now I can't kill the Gremlin Tamer, because I have to kill that. Oh boy, attack with 1 Orphans of the Wheat, tap the whole board. I'd have some massive counterattacks, so actually might just get milled a ton and be fine with it. Because if I kill the Mind Skinner after just 1 mill, like, yeah, getting milled 5 one time is not going to mill us out. Let's just take the 5 mill. If you've never seen Mind Skinner before, I should be highlighting these cards more often, my bad. They don't damage me anymore, they mill me instead, but most importantly, they have 10 unblockable power of mill every turn. But the race is on now, because they tapped so much stuff to do that. So, now... we are gonna Seized from Slumber the Mind Skinner, so... I mean, I guess I don't have double blue, so I don't have any other options. It's literally just Piranha Fly and Seized from Slumber. So... I guess I still don't really have good attacks. The race is not on, I lied. We're just trading 2/2s. Yeah, alright. Bummer. We're actually just sitting behind our board and waiting to play our 5 drops and use those to take over. And I'm just going to kill it right now. That way they can't choose to, like, not attack with it to keep it around. They probably would have just attacked with it, but this way also plays around like a counter unless I pay 2, which does exist in the format. I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's some tax counters. Okay, I'm at 23 because I've only gotten milled this game, so I can just take 5 actual damage. Stay at 18. Savior of the Small. That I would kill immediately, but I cannot. Can Meat Locker somebody down, but we don't want to Meat Locker that, or they just bring the Mind Skinner back. I guess Meat Locker does literally nothing right now. Well, no, because I have Scavenger. Okay, because I have Scavenger, it does something. Forgot about Scavenger. So I get to stun, I guess, the 2/2 Vigilance. This is the stun, yeah. This is the counter. This way, I'm sending a 4/4 in. So I get to kill Savior of the Small if they block. Now they can't double block the Cult Healer there to kill it instead. All right. If they've got a combat trick here, this is going to suck. But I don't think I can really play around one. I could play around the +2/+2 trick. That's about as good as I can do. This plays around a +2/+2 trick or destroy target creature. If they have something better than either of those, then this is going to be brutal. But I think those would be the most common one. I mean, the common combat trick is +2/+2, and obviously instant speed removal is somewhat common. All right, yeah, that's blow up one creature. I still kill the savior. Ooh, they actually let me draw the hover ship. That's kind of sweet. Awesome. They only had the one trick. Really happy with that block. Because that could have been disastrous for us if we just double blocked. So throwing the creature there was definitely worth it. Okay, so I'm still at 18. I don't really mind this Orphans of the Wheat because they keep having to tap a bunch of blockers to use it. I think I'm going to hover ship the Gremlin Tamer just to prevent future potential 1/1s. If they want to double block kill Cult Healer, they got it. Alright. It's fine. Hover ship the Gremlin Tamer. And all I need is an island, and we're so winning right now. We have 2 Drowned Diners and a Fear of Falling ready to go. I mean, even on board, we're kind of winning. We're hitting for 4 a turn in the sky. We're out racing them a little bit because they're at 9 at the start of the race and we're at 15 at the start of this race here. I think we outrace them a tiny bit, even if we don't hit the island, but okay. I was going to say, we do really kind of need it, and especially if they do hit a 4/5 flyer. That completely shuts off the race, and that is not the island. Arena is going to make us wait. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. It's going to make us really enjoy finding our island. Oh, what am I doing? Doesn't matter where I put this until I play another enchantment, but I can definitely play another enchantment soon. Well, probably play another enchantment soon off an island. So I can get 2 counters. If I get 2 counters on Piranha Fly, it's getting in, so let's do that. Underwater Tunnel. Surveil 2. Grab a 3/3, and if it's a creature that they've manifested, they can flip it up and it's even bigger, and that's a nightmare. So let's hope, fingers crossed, there was not a creature in the top 2. Even in a real creature heavy deck, that's like 15 to 17, it is not super likely. It's what, like a 70%? I guess it's pretty decently likely. I don't actually know. That is so aggro. Go to 10. If I draw any removal, they're just dead, right? We just take this. I guess I'm kind of out of removal, though. That actually gets that out of the way. I can hit my 0/2. Ah, Plains 6. Or Plains 5. I know math, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ah, they just kill me on the crackback if I send everybody in. Gonna die to our lack of islands here. They mill a bunch of islands? Wow, yeah, they did. They milled 4. It's tragic. Still 5 in the bottom 16. Or I guess 4, because we've got 1 on board. Oh, yeah, I don't see any way to get damage in here. I mean, I could attack with the whole board, then they kill me on the crackback. Yeah, I can't just, like, attack with 1 creature. Brutal. God, they milled me 5 one time this game, and they hit 4 islands out of the 5 milled. I guess one of these islands was from a manifest. So they milled 3 islands out of the 5 milled. That's not good. Still an island away from a shot this game. And there's a shot. We gotta play to the board at this point. They let this in, they have their life total. If they don't let it in, we kill the 4-5. We kill the 4-5. Oh! They could be going for top deck removal spell, counterattack lethal. Actually, that wouldn't even work because I can chump with hover ship, but it'd be close enough. We would. Well, no, if they counterattack with everybody, the Piranha Fly kills them. Because the Spirits isn't a blocker anymore. Yeah, if they try to removal spell lethal us, we reverse curse that with Piranha Fly. Because I'll still have 3 blockers up because the hover ship. So I block the Spirits, block the face down, block the Orphans, take 3. Pass, don't even attack with Orphans, let's go. Oh my god, let's go, because now we can make the Piranha Fly so big that they can't kill it. Draw another creature, play the Fear of Surveillance probably. Even though Scavenger has the better ability, I need cards that are better at just blocking immediately, and this also gives me another counter onto another blocker to make the blocks a little safer. Go for the onboard lethal. I'm also shutting off a flying blocker. GG from opponent! Oh my god! Alright. Wow. I actually didn't even put 2 and 2 together. That whole time we had lethal this turn if they didn't kill the Fear of Falling, because we get to shut off the flying blocker anyway. So because they didn't trade Piranha Fly into the Spirits, that locked in that, like, if they don't kill either of these, then these 2 get in guaranteed next turn and find the lethal. So we didn't even need to do anything else that turn if they had nothing in hand, and they had nothing in hand, didn't draw into anything there. Lucky ending there. Really sketchy first half of the game, though, missing on that second blue for so long, and took me a long time to realize why. They milled 3 of them, and we milled 1 ourselves. Kind of a devastating little island clump in the early game for them all to get milled. But just find it barely in time, literally at 5 life here, dead to 1 more Orphans hit. So they were at the point where they're going to start forcing us to chump every turn. Close game, but we are 6-1 heading into game number 8. All right, here we are for game number 8. Back to the regularly scheduled on the draw, but I'm fine with that. This hand is still very good. Scavenger into Peeper into Cult Healer. That is a 1-2-3 curve. You don't get Sesame Street Magic too often, but when you get to play Magic with the Count, it's usually pretty powerful. Ooh, another Scavenger. Again, no enchantments in the hand right now, but we know we have plenty in the deck to make these excellent when we draw into them. With no enchantments in hand, I might bite the bullet and just trade into this thing, because if it sticks around, eventually becomes a 5-4 hexproof. So honestly, and we're against Boros on the play, that's a real aggressive color pair. It's probably worth just trading off when I have a second copy and I have no enchantments in hand, especially if I draw Surgical Suite. Alright, well, speaking of just trading off, this is going to suck if they have instant speed removal. You almost never want to combat trick on blocks, because if you're combat tricking on blocks, you're doing it when all of your opponent's mana is open. So any instance in their hand, like the world is their oyster to interact with your jump scare, with their instant speed removal or something like that. But in very specific scenarios, like when they have a really good bomb rare attacking in, sometimes it's worth that risk. So I'm going to try to jump scare this if it attacks in. And if they have a Scorching Dragonfire, some kind of instant speed removal to blow up the Scavenger, we're going to get 2 for 1 and we're probably going to lose the game. But we would also just be in a horrific position if this role model sticks around. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure it doesn't. Okay, and they'll just take the option away from us with Trapped in the Screen. And I don't have to worry about getting 2 for 1 because they just exiled my thing and I can't deal with the role model. Now I just have to worry about a snowballing rare. It turns into a flyer first, and then it starts getting a bunch of +1/+1 counters from there. Okay. Well, let's Cult Healer, I guess. We need to outrace this thing, and the best way to do that is probably Lifelink. I guess it probably gets Lifelink next, right? Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, the Jolly Balloon Man? Make duplicate role models. I don't... Does this trigger when it leaves the battlefield for any reason? When it dies, does it sack? Oh no, it sacks! So they get to move the duplicate role model counter to the other one? That's so filthy. They both trigger? They both trigger? I don't even know the role model triggers on other creatures. Do they get 2 counters each time? Whew. Unidentified Hovership was about our only way back in this game, so I love that draw. I can't kill both these, though, so they get to keep the Jolly Balloon Man. And hopefully they don't have anything else that synergizes quite as well with our balloony friend over there. I'm fairly confident I just have to deal with the 4/4 flying lifelink that's getting even bigger. So, yes, they may find another creature to go with Jolly Balloon Man, but the role model will definitely still be a massive problem by itself. The Jolly Balloon Man will just probably still be a massive problem, which is slightly less bad. Okay. Time for the surgical suite, I imagine. Bring a Scavenger back so that when we do the hospital room, we get a counter off that immediately. I can still play a Peeper and a Jump Scare here. They could double block here. Then I guess no, it would be the same if they double blocked. I would still kill the Jolly Balloon Man and not lose the Cold Healer. So never mind. Alright, we've dealt with the Balloon Man, and now I'm actually feeling decent. I don't know what their Tunnel of Hate does. Maybe that'll matter. I probably should have sent the Hovership in that turn. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a flyer. Alright, I misplayed, but whatever. We missed 2 points of damage, and then they conceded next turn anyway. What is this? Target attacking creature gains double strike until end of turn. That's kind of scary, but it's 6 mana, so very far away. Only matters on the aggressive. I am so surprised we got out of that. I think there was literally only 1 or 2 cards in our deck that would have gotten us out of there. I mean, if I hit the turn the creature into a 0/2 card or the destroy target creature card, we would have still had such big problems. Because I would have blown up the role model, and then it would just move all its counters over to the Jolly Balloon Man, and they'd have a flying lifelinking, like 3 or 4 power Jolly Balloon Man. And I'd be in a really bad spot. Or I would turn the role model into a 0/2, but it'd be a 0/2 with like 2 or 3 +1/+1 counters and a flying lifelink counter. So it'd still be like a 3/5 flying lifelink or a 2/5 flying lifelink or something. So I think we literally hit our only card in the deck that would have given us a good chance of turning the game around. So literally the luckiest draw in the deck steals that game back from our opponent's terrifying turn 2, turn 3 rare kind of curve. I guess they played the Balloon Man turn 4. Because yeah, he's basically a 4-drop. You want to play him with the haste and then get the 1 mana ability. So the turn 2, turn 4 rare Wombo combo. That's a really sweet one though. This card is insane with the Balloon Man because they care about themselves and other creatures dying. So the duplicate gets its counter, dies, and puts 2 copies of its counter onto the board. That was horrifying, but our synergistic little blue-white pile was incredible, and we drew the best rare in our deck to draw at that time, so we also got quite lucky, and 7-1 it'll be. Honestly, this could have been a 7-0 run if I just played correctly. I think, for the most part, all of our lines and decision-making was quite solid throughout the draft. Obviously, I missed a couple damage there. I probably missed a couple damage in some other games, but for the most part, played it out as well as we could, outside of a misplay that was just like Butterfingers kind of just clicking the wrong thing sort of thing, where like 100% intended to stun their creature and put counters on my own, but I'm playing digital magic, so if you click on the wrong button at the slightly wrong time, like I clicked that first and then the other thing second, you can order your things wrong. So obviously we would slow down and try to play as tight as possible in like a very competitive event, but for the sealed event, that's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes I just playing too fast. I'm a little too excited and I fudge the numbers and I meat locker my own threat. It happens. Our one loss, the meat lockering our own threat, but otherwise, this was a fantastic deck. I think, as I said when I saw the white, 3 copies of Optimistic Scavengers, an incredibly big reason to play the color. So I was definitely looking for something that paired well with it. We found that immediately with our blue, and it didn't look like any of our other color pairs were going to be quite as synergistic and quite as powerful as this. I'm very happy with the deck we built. I think it 100% could have and would have went 7-0 if I didn't misclick, and it's very capable of keeping up a very solid win rate against plenty of other powerful decks, because we played against plenty of powerful decks today. So yeah, super happy with this one. Super happy to show off this color pair for our first sealed event of the format, and I believe it's also the first time I've shown off this color pair on the channel at all. I don't think we actually ended up drafting any blue-white during the early access event, so just a really sweet day of games. This was a very fun sealed event to start the format off, and I'm really looking forward to playing tons more of the set as time progresses. We're going to play mostly drafts, because all the competitive events are going to make us play sealed anyway. So we'll see some more sealed, at least when the Arena Open shows up around mid-October. But for now, get ready for some more drafts of the format as we hop back in there. But let's go ahead and bust open these prizes. We got our full 2,200 gems back, so all our gems back and more, and some extra packs of Duskmourn, House of Horror. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel, as well as you for watching the videos. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, where I am live once every 6 months or something. But you can also check out the Patreon link in the description below if you are looking to support the channel. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.